Okay, let's wait a minute. Yeah, hello everyone. I think we can start and all the participants are here. Let me share my screen and we can get started. Okay, I hope it works good. And let's begin. So, hello everybody again. My name is Dmitrii Ivashchenko. I am lead Unity developer from MY.GAMES. And today we're going to talk about game development in Unity and C#. And we can start. We will create today a small prototype of Diablo looked like the game, yeah, top-down action game, to see the Unity engine in action. We'll cover a few points like Unity editor, yeah, game assets, how to create an environment for our game, how to add some animations to our characters, and add some effects, and of course, C# scripting. And let's begin from the Unity editor. We have several parts in the editor, like hierarchy, like scene view, our inspector, and project. And we will use our hierarchy to create our game objects and to combine it together. We can also see the result in our scene view. We can use the inspector to adjust some settings. And our project is our library with our assets. Let's move on. And the first thing that we need to remember here is two things, game objects and components. The game object is a basic building block. Yeah, every model, every character, maybe projectile is a separate game object in our scene. We can combine it, we can use some inner part for our strong complex objects and make them together to see the result, yeah? The next thing is component. It's a small piece of functionality that we can add to our game objects, like animation, like some transform positions and other things. Let's move on. And we can get started. And firstly, we'll create our scene, then create an environment, add some props like landscape, like skybox, tree, stones, and so on. We will create a player with animation, the enemy with animations, and we will create some game manager to spawn our enemies and prepare some other things. And lastly, we'll use some effects to our gameplay. So the first thing is environment. Let's dive into Unity, and here we are. Firstly, we need to create new scene. Let's call it gameplay, and let's open it. Because the new empty scene, we have a main camera here and direction light. And first thing that we need to do is add one plane here. Let's reset the position to 0, 0, 0, and it'll be our invisible ground for our game. Let's turn mesh render off, and it's totally invisible. So I wanted to scale a bit 10 here, 10 here. Great. And let's save our scene. And now we can decorate it with our assets. I downloaded some assets from Unity Asset Store. The first is Polygon Starter with several characters for our game. And the second one is starter assets from Unity. It's an official pack. Let's find some ground here. Flat. And we can just move it here. I will reset the position and place it here. Now we can duplicate it and place one more here, once again here, and maybe one more here. Great, now we have 4 ground plates, and let's add some other things like trees, rocks, and so on. Here is my library, and I want to use this rock. I'll place it here, maybe one more here. Can duplicate this one and maybe rotate it. Let's place it here. I want to surround our scene with this stuff. And maybe one more here and one more here. Great. Now let's add some trees and other things. We can see it in our library. I want to surround our battlefield with some trees from this collection. Let's place it here. You can use any of these models. Now I can select all these trees and duplicate them again. Sorry. One more time, place it here. One more time, I can rotate. Sorry. I need to use center rotation for it, for this operation. Let's place it here, duplicate one more time and place it here. Great, now we have something like forest. And once again, I can duplicate it one more time. And maybe one more time here and here. Great. Let's add some rocks. I can place all the stuff to our ground, just moving it, dragging from our library to our scene. I think it's enough. Let's place this thing here, maybe some dead tree. I think it's enough. Okay. And one more thing that we need to add is our sky box. Let's drag it here and reset the position. What is the skybox? It is a sphere, yeah, it's a half of sphere, which painted inside in like a sky, yeah, blue color. So when we're inside our scene, we can see the forest and the sky behind it. So here is a little mess, and we can organize it to some folders. For example, I can get all the grounds, select them, and create empty parent. Let's call it ground. Great. Also, I can get all the trees. Once again, we need to select them. Create empty parent. Oh, sorry. And let's call it trees. Right. Also, I can get all these mountains. Create empty parent, and let's call it mountains. Lastly, I can get all the rocks and create a new group. So all these things is our environment, and I can get all these game objects, create a new group, and call it environment. Let's save our scene. And now we can move next. The second thing what we need to do is to add our player to our scene. Let's zoom in. And from starter asset, we want to find one prefab called pair armature. Let's place it here. So it is a prefab from Unity Asset Store. It hasn't material. We can see this strange color, and let's hide this geometry because we will use another model to our game. From previous asset pack, I can get one of these models. You can see this one and female one, and let's use female. I can just drag it from our library to our scene. Let's rename it to our player. And also we need to change this player armature from previous avatar to character avatar from another asset pack. Great, let's save the scene. And also we can reposition we can move our camera, and I want camera look like this. Save the scene, and now we can check the result. I started our client, and I can use my keyboard to walking, running, and jumping. Yeah, because it was prepared with a standard asset. Great. Let's collapse it. And the next step is, yeah, of course, our player. Oh, we need to add a support to our player. Yeah. I wanted to find right hand and R and place here some sword from our library. I think it's this one. Place it directly in our hand. Let's zoom in. And it looks great, but it looks down, yeah? We need to modify rotation. And we also need to change the position. Yeah, I think we need to move it to the right and a bit down like that, yeah? Great. And also we can check it, yeah? Let's save the scene and hit the play. Great. Our character have a sword, we can jump, we can run, and everything works. Let's collapse the player, and what's next? Enemies, and firstly we need to add a camera. Actually, let's add some virtual camera. Great, and we need to adjust some settings here. Firstly, we need to use aim to do nothing, and body to framing transposer. We will follow our player, so we can drag our player here. Let's see the result. And also I want to reset the position and set the rotation to 60. Yeah, and I also want to change the camera distance like that. Yes, and now we can save our scene and test the result. Great, now our camera follows our player. Let's move on. The next thing what we need to do is to create our enemies. Let's create empty game object here. I will call it enemy prefab. And let's reset the position. Great. And there's an empty point right now. I'm going to create a new game object inside. I'll put root. And inside this root, I will move our characters. I think I will get all this and place it here. So this is our enemies. I will disable these items. Now we can add some animations here. To do this, we need to firstly add a character component. And the second one is animator. Great. We also need to create animator controller. Let's call it enemy animator controller. Great. And drag it here. So now we can add some animations for our enemy. Yeah. I think we will add, we will add 3 animations. First, it will be walk. Second one will be attack. The last one will be die. Great. And now we can move to our animator inspector and adjust the settings. We need to create an empty state and set it as default layer. And also we can use some parameters here. I think we will add 3 parameters for walking, for attacking, and for dying. Yeah, first we need to use bool attacking. The second one is for walking. And the last one will be the trigger. And I'll call it just die. Yeah. So now we can add some transitions from any state to each of them. Let's make transition to here, another one, and one more. Great. And now we can use these parameters inside these transitions. Yeah, how to do it? I can select this transition. It is for walking. Let's set the condition walking true, attacking false, and also I need to turn off this property, can transition to self. Great. One more time. This state for attacking, so we need to use attacking true. We need to use walking false, and switch off this property. And the last one is for dying. We will use a trigger die. And also we need to turn off this property. Next thing, we also need to add an empty transition from any state to new state when attacking false and walking false. And also I need to disable this property. Great. The next thing what we need to do is to add some animations. Let's go to animation inspector. Let's begin from walk animation and let's start. Yeah, I think we will jump with our enemies. Yeah, Let's start the record. Let's select our root object, and I need to use the first frame. So I need to reset the positions and store it in the first frame, the 0 frame. I think all this animation will be 1 second, so I can duplicate this state to the last second. And maybe here we will scale down a bit to 0.5. And maybe here we will jump for 1 meter. We will scale up to 1.1. And also maybe here we will go back to 0, scale down a bit to 0.5, and return to the initial state. Let's see the result. Oh, I think we need to scale down here more. To 0, maybe 0.9, and okay, scale down, jump, scale down, and return to initial state to 1. Okay, I think it's enough. Let's go to the next animation. Oh, we changed our enemy prefab. Let's delete this property, and yeah, we need to do it again because we need to modify our root parameters. Yeah, let's scale down here 0.9. Let's, yeah, here 0.9. Let's jump here to 1 meter and scale up. Now let's return to 0 and scale this and it again. Yeah, great. Let's stop the recording and go to the next animation. The next one is attack. Once again, let's create our initial frame. Let's modify some parameters, reset it, and duplicate this state to, I think, 30 frame. Great. And how can we attack our player? We can hit it by our hand, yeah, by our head. And to do this, I think we need to make some rotation, some scale down a bit, maybe 0.9. And after that, we need to hit even more and scale up to 1.1 and return to the initial state. Yeah, let's play it. Okay, I think it's enough. And let's go to our last animation, it's die. And once again, we need to get our root, make a record, and modify and reset our transform or initial frame. I think this animation will be maybe 20 frames. And here I want to move it back. I want to rotate it like this. And I want to scale down, scale to 0. Yeah. Yeah, I think it looks great. maybe we need 5 more frames. Yeah, I think it's enough. So now we have 3 animations, and we placed all them in our animator. And let's make some scripts. Let's save our scene. And I want to add some new components. First is player. Let's create new script. Let's call it player. And we need to wait some recompilation here. Done, great. The second one will be enemy. New script called enemy, create and add. Great. And the last one, I wanted to add some empty object here. I'll call it game manager. And I'll create game manager component here. Create and add. Great. Yeah. Now we can save the scene and let's write some code. So here are our scripts. Firstly, I wanted to add to our player a new animation. We need to move our sword to attack with our sword. And to do this, firstly, we need to override our start method here to get our animator. From our game object. And also we need to override some update method here. And yeah, if we have an input from I think button F or maybe return button, we will play attack animation. Let's use the method attack here and let's create it. First thing that we need to add a trigger attack. So that we need wait a bit, maybe wait task delay maybe 0, and we need to use, of course, missing method. And after that, let's import. Yeah, after that we need to inform our game manager about our attack animation finished. Yeah, to do this, let's add some public event. It will be action, and let's call it on attack. Yeah, and we can just invoke it here. Great. Let's go to our editor. Let's recompile our source code. Yeah. Let's hide our enemy. I think we can drag it here, make a prefab from it, and remove it from our scene. And now we can play our scene. Yeah. Now I will hit F button and return button. Great. Now we can attack our enemies. Go back. And the next one, I want to add some enemies. I want to spawn enemies. And to do that, I want to have some spawn points inside my game manager. To do that, I need to have a list, public list of game objects. I'll call it spawn points. Yes, and go back to, no, we need to add one more. Let me pick up and one more for our player. There. Yeah, and now we can move to our paper, recompile our code. Let's wait a bit. Yeah, now we have all these fields, and I wanted to create some spawn points. Let's reset the position and start. So this is our player, our ground, and I wanted to add a new empty object here. Let's call it spawn point. I'll place it here, duplicate several times, place it around our player. Yeah, I think it's enough. So this is our spawn point around our player. And now we can move all these points to our spawn points field. Great. One more. We need to move enemy prefab here and player here. Great. Let's save the scene. We can collapse game manager and go back. So we need to add a spawn to our enemies, and let's create some private list of enemies. Let's call it enemies. Create it here. And also I want to have some spawn index. Be private int spawn index. And I want to have a random value here from system dot random dot next from 0 to 1000. Great. Oh, index, right. And we need to have an update method here. Yeah, and one more field. I think we will have 3 enemies on our scene. So let's create public enemy count equal 3. And there will be a logic like this. If our enemies count less than enemy, then we can spawn our enemy. Let's hit this here, and what we will do here. So we need to get our enemy game object. It will be instantiate from our enemy prefab dot game object. For that we need to have enemy component, get enemy from this game object, and I want to store this enemy in our list. Next, we need to get our spawn points. We will use the random index here, and we can set this position to our enemy. And also we can make some initialize method in it and pass the player here. Yeah. Let's create this method. And we can just store this variable here. Great. So now we can go to our a manager and recompile and play again. Let's see the result. Great. I can see all three enemies here. Let's go back and add some behavior. First, I want to add some skins to our enemy. Yeah, I want to have a public list of game objects. I'll call it skins. And let's go to our editor. Let's recompile it. Great. Let's go to our enemy prefab, expand it, and here is our list. I want to move all these skins to this list. One more. And the last. Great. And let's go to our code. I want to have one more skin index at private static int this skin index, and I want to have new system.random next from 0 to 1000. Great. And now we can add some start method here. And firstly, we need to have our animator. Great. And now we can deactivate all the skins using for each loop for each get our skin and set active false. Great. And now we can activate some random skin. Yeah, just get index, increase it, and send active true. Great. Let's check it again. Recompile and play. And wait a bit. Great. All these enemies has different skins. Yeah. And let's go back. I want to add moving of our enemies, and I need to have two more fields. First will be public float speed. It will be 1 meter per second. Yeah. And the second one is the stack distance. It will be 2 meters. And now we can create an update method here. And first of all, we need to check if our player equal null, we can return. And now we need to look at our player. Yeah, to do that, we can use transform dot look at player transform. Great. The next thing what we need to do is to get a distance. We can get our distance from player transform minus enemy transform position. This is the vector from our enemy to our player. And now we can check the distance. If our distance are less than attack distance, we can walk. So we need to change our transform dot position. We can add here our distance dot normalized times speed times time delta time. And in else branch, we can play attack animation, and here we can play move animation. Yeah. Here, let's create these two methods. So we need to set then walking to true. We also need to set taken to false. Great. And one more here. Walking false and attacking true. Okay. Let's recompile once again and see the result. Right now, our enemies can follow our player, and when the distance is small, they start to attack. Great. Let's move on. Let's go to our game manager and add attacking to our player. We need to have two more fields here. First will be public float player attack distance. It will be, I think, 2.5 meters. And the second one is public float player attack angle. Will be, I think, 60 degrees. Yeah, and now we can create start method here, and we can use this event from our player in our game manager. We can subscribe to this event. Yeah, let's create this method, and inside we need to use our enemies list to recursive loop here will be our index from enemies count -1 to 0, index minus, yeah. So let's get our enemies by index, and let's get enemy position here. Will be our enemy transform.position, and the next one will be our player position. Now we can get our distance. It is a vector from player position to enemy position, and also we can get enemy direction. It will be distance.normalized. Now we can go to presentation, yeah? And here we are. This is our player position, and player can look forward. This vector will be player.transform.forward, yeah? And we also have an enemy position here, and this is our enemy direction. It's a vector from player position to our enemy position, yeah? And we can get this angle between these two vectors, yeah? And if we look to our player, at our enemy, we can attack this enemy. And if you look someone else, we can't attack our enemy when we hit with our sword. So let's check it here. Firstly, angle. It will be angle between our player transform forward and enemy direction. Yeah. If this distance between our player attack engine angle, we can remove our enemy, and not we can destroy it here, but we can call enemy dot play, I think, die animation. Let's create this method. And what we need to do here, we need to call our animator set trigger die. Great. Also, we can await a bit here. Wait, task delay, I think 500 seconds. Let's import. Of course, we need to use passing keyword here. And after that, we can destroy our game object with our enemy. So let's go back, recompile, and play again. Great, let's try to attack our enemy. Okay. Work. Great. And now we can add some effects here. I'm not an artist, and I prepared some effects here. And we can look at it. And see it. We can expand our game object, and we can see a particle system component here. It adjusted with some settings like emission, like shape, rotation speed, and so on. So here we have these orange particles, and here some white ones, yeah. And together it create this effect. Let's remove it from our scene, and let's add it to our game manager. Go back to the code, and let's add one new field here. It will be public game object fx prefab. Let's save the code, save the scene, recompile, and wait a bit. Okay, now we have this fx prefab field. Let's drag it here. Great. Let's save our scene, go back to the code. And when we need to spawn our effects, when we remove our enemy, let's call some method here, maybe spawn effects. And we also need to have an enemy position here. Let's create this method. And what we need to do here, we need to get a new game object, instantiate a fixed prefab. Next, we need to set transform position. We also need to wait a bit here. Wait. Maybe 3 seconds. Import. Use keyword here. And after that, we can destroy this effect game object. Great. Let's see the result. I can save the scene, recompile the scene, recompile the code, and play. Great. Let's try to attack. Great. Yeah, now we can walk, we can run, we can attack our enemies, and our enemies can attack our player. So I think we can stop here, and we added our effects here. And all the source code you can get on GitHub repository, and you can grab all the assets from Asset Store. I attached the link with Polygon started pack and the Unity started assets here. And the next step, what you need to do if you wanted to try Unity in deep, yeah, you can follow this link and take some course from Unity. It will be a great start point to make a game by own. So let me stop screen sharing. And if you have some questions, you can ask it now or maybe later in our Discord channel. Okay, if you have no question, thank you all guys for watching, and good luck everything, and see you later.